KUAM News Headlines is presented by Calvo's Insurance, a legacy of trust, serving Micronesia since 1938. Matson, celebrating 25 years of commitment to Guam, Micronesia, and the CNMI. Cars Plus, home of Guam's first and only lifetime powertrain warranty. Visit carsplusguam.com for details. McDonald's of Guam, I'm loving it, and King's Restaurant, serving your local breakfast, lunch, and dinner favorites for over 45 years.
Ahead on primetime, a 46-year-old man is arrested for Wednesday's shooting in the southern village of Maleso. Plus, foster families breathe a sigh of relief after a letter advising foster care would no longer be covered by GovGuam's health insurance plan was mistakenly sent out. And a meeting will be held on Friday to discuss if students should be required to get vaccinated before heading back to class.
Hafide and good evening, everyone. On the day he turned 46 years old, Dino Chargoloff Cruz found himself arrested for allegedly shooting his relative. He faces aggravated assault as a second and third degree felony with a special allegation for possession or use of a deadly weapon in the commission of a felony, possession of an unregistered firearm, and theft of property as third degree felonies. On Wednesday, police responded to a Maleso residence and found a man with a gunshot wound to his leg. Defendant Cruz told officers the victim is a distant relative that he allowed to live with him, quote, in hopes of being a positive influence to the victim. Documents state that after Cruz saw the victim with a vehicle he took from his friend, an argument ensued and he grabbed a stolen firearm, walked toward the victim and told him to get inside the house or he would shoot him. But the victim did not comply. The victim was transported to the hospital where he is in stable condition. Cruz was released on a $1,000 personal recognizance bond and placed on house arrest. His next court hearing is set for July 7th. And closing arguments were heard today in the trial of George Chambers Jr. He's charged with forgery, tampering with public records, and unsworn falsification of a record. Tyler Montanani has the latest on Guam's first pandemic unemployment assistance, or PUA, fraud case to go to trial.
Instead of the squeaky wheel getting oiled, the squeaky wheel got witch-hunted and crushed. That's how Defense Counsel William Bischoff described the Department of Labor's response to George Chambers. Chambers filed for PUA and was initially told he qualified. However, after 2.5 months passed, he had yet to receive any financial assistance. He then called in and complained to the director's office, who noted a red flag in his case.
What was the red flag in Mr. Chambers' file that Christiane Edidog started testifying about?
The defense argued that DOL was unable to identify what the red flag in Chambers' application was, and even admitted that he did in fact qualify for PUA because he was unable to work through the pandemic and had a child to take care of.
Edidog finally conceded it, kind of didn't even want to look at it when she finally conceded it, but yeah, like, why are we doing that?
But according to prosecuting attorney Dennis Lee, Chambers had not been paid out because he failed to provide any proof of employment when he submitted his application to the DOL. And what he gave after he was asked raised alarms.
She didn't mention whether if it was going to be a business license that it had to be current or not current. But we're here today because of how Mr. Chambers responded to that request and the documents that he submitted.
A business license with an altered date along with 2 other documents was submitted as proof of self-employment. One of them, a receipt of payment, was barely legible. There was, however, a name and contact number. And Evangeline Cepeda of Century Realty 21 was hired as a project manager for the residence where Chambers was a tenant in 2019. Cepeda previously stated that she had no recollection of Chambers ever working for her. However, further investigation into her records revealed a letter describing work and payment to Chambers after he had in fact worked for her back in March of 2019.
It could be very clear exactly what Ms. Edidog was looking for, and in fact, it exists. However, that was not what was submitted to Ms. Edidog.
Bischoff said that this has become not so much a legal case, but a morality play, and that the only reason they're going after his client is because, quote, he was being a pest. Attorney Lee, however, focused on the fact that Chambers falsified documents and that morality does in fact play a role in this case.
That business license doesn't belong to you. The information, at least on that business, we give you that copy of the original, but the information that's on there doesn't belong to you. When we talk about morality and what's material, well, it's always material whether or not something is yours.
Jury deliberation is currently underway. Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Tyler Matanani.
In district court, former Guam Department of Labor employee 26-year-old Jerome Michael Cruz was sentenced to 10 months in prison for attempting to obtain $93,000 in pandemic unemployment assistance and federal pandemic unemployment compensation benefits. KUAM's Adriana Cotero reports.
I don't buy it, I really don't. And the fact that you bought a Camaro sports car to go to work, that is totally irresponsible, and you should be ashamed of yourself. This is very reprehensible. Your conduct is unforgivable. These were some of the final words Chief Judge Francis Tadinko Gatewood told former Guam Department of Labor employee Jerome Cruz before announcing his sentencing. Cruz is accused of committing pandemic unemployment assistance, or PUA, and federal pandemic unemployment compensation, or FPUC, fraud in September of last year. He pled guilty to federal program theft and accessing protected computer in furtherance of fraud. At the time of the incident, Cruz was employed full-time by GDOL as a customer service representative, in which during the COVID-19 pandemic, he assisted customers with PUA and FPUC claims. According to court documents, he allegedly submitted an application for PUA and FPUC benefits and falsely certified that he was unemployed and was eligible for the federal assistance. On October 13, 2020, Cruz was transferred within GDOL and lost his access to the PUA and FPUC computer system. But this didn't stop him. Cruz allegedly used the login credentials of other GDOL employees to access the department's computer system for processing. As stated in court, under the access, he modified existing PUA claim orders for multiple people, including his mother and father, and changed the payment method from paper check to direct deposit into his bank account. He ultimately received about $14,000 in benefits and attempted to obtain an additional $79,000 for a total intended loss of $93,000. Assistant Federal Public Defender Leilani Lujan motioned for a downward variance, stating that the reason why he committed the crime was because of financial challenges. The government opposed the variance as they are already recommending the low end of the sentencing guidelines. Assistant U.S. Attorney Ben Petersburg stating that on November 5th, the defendant was confronted by GDOL and was terminated, but even so afterward, he continued to file fraudulent claims. Cruz addressed the court stating that he knew what he was doing was wrong at the time, but he was going through financial problems and was behind in rent. Chief Judge Francis Tadinko Gatewood questioned why Cruz bought a Camaro with the money, and he stated that he needed it to get to work, but the court wasn't buying it. Chief Judge denied the defense's motion and said, long story short, you were an agent, you were a public servant assigned to the Department of Labor, and this money was supposed to be used for people to survive. You took advantage of your position. The judge sided with the government and sentenced the defendant to 10 months imprisonment and a 3-year supervised release term on both counts to run concurrently. The court also ordered Cruz pay back every single amount of money taken from DOL within the next 3 years. Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Adriana Cotero.
At least 3 attorneys were previously appointed to accused murderer Matthew Matamuson's case, but all had some sort of conflict. Matamuson is charged with the April shooting death of Joshua Meno, whose body was found along Swamp Road in Dededo. Attorney Terrence Timblin is now court-assigned to the case, but Matamuson confirmed that he and his family will continue to seek their own attorney. He's charged with 2 counts of murder as a first-degree felony, 1 count of aggravated assault as a second-degree felony, and various weapons charges. A status hearing is set for Tuesday. Jury selection is slated for July 20th. In other news, wireless and landline services at the E911 Communications Center went down just after 9 o'clock this morning. That meant that if the public needed immediate emergency services such as fire, EMS, or police, they were asked to call directly or proceed to the nearest fire station or police precinct. GFD spokesperson Cherika Chargaloff said their service provider, GTA TeleGuam, was notified of the situation, and about an hour later, service was restored and emergency lines were back in service. GTA released a statement saying there was an issue at its Agana central office that impacted landline calls to a portion of subscribers. It's also where all local 911 calls are aggregated. A letter that Public Health says should never have gone out is what triggered some of the panic amongst the foster care community Wednesday. As it turns out, there was never a real threat to critical health insurance coverage for their foster children. Here's more. Public health spokesperson Janella Carrera says the letter that shouldn't have been sent was written by someone who was in an acting capacity and not vetted by upper management.
The acting Human Services Program Administrator was not aware of the facts as they developed. And, had the right set of eyes gotten on that letter before it went out, then, we would have been able to sit down and discuss the options or what developments were happening.
The letter advised that the foster care would no longer be covered by GovGuam's health insurance plan and would be replaced instead by Medicaid. That triggered a flurry of letters and concerned responses from the foster parent community to Vice Speaker Barnes and to the governor herself, all saying that the coverage must continue.
There's other services that they rely on, like mental health coverage and other types of coverage that the GovGuam health insurance provides for. And so it's very important, and we recognize that. And that's why, and I think you saw the governor's response to the vice speaker and to Senator Torres, that it's unacceptable. And it's the same with us.
She says, to be clear, the funding is available and insurance coverage for foster care will continue uninterrupted. Should students be required to have a COVID vaccination before heading back to class? It's an issue that Education Superintendent John Fernandez will discuss at a meeting with the governor and lieutenant governor on Friday.
We're trying to make sure we vaccinate as many employees and students, eligible students, as much as we can.
And the target is to have an 80% vaccination rate. According to GDOE Superintendent John Fernandez, at least 70% of school site employees have taken the shot, but more work needs to be done to get students vaccinated.
Based on today's statistics, or the latest statistics, we'll be at about 50% for the 16 to 19-year-olds and about 30% for the 12 to 15-year-olds. So we're really discussing, ways in which we can try to move those numbers even more towards that 80%. By the time the school year starts.
Fernandez says GDOE is looking at the possibility of making a COVID shot mandatory for eligible students to return to campus for face-to-face instruction.
We know that GRMC, issued a mandate for all of its employees to be vaccinated. I'm wanting to discuss with the governor and lieutenant governor the possibility of requiring students to be vaccinated and whether or not that's something that is able to be done legally, right, and whether that's something that people would think would be a good, policy to implement just to promote safety in schools, but also to get our kids back to school safely and get them back into a regular routine.
If COVID vaccinations are mandatory, Fernandez is hoping that it would remove the 3 feet social distancing requirement in the classrooms.
Because we know that the CDC said that if you're fully vaccinated, the physical distancing and other requirements are going to be less critical once the vaccinations are 100%.
Mandatory vaccinations have been widely discussed amongst the governor's physicians advisory group. PAG chairperson Dr. Hoa Nguyen says it wouldn't be much different than the requirement currently in place for TB skin tests in order for students to attend school.
We mandate people to have PPD skin tests to be safe, but that's infectious, right? And COVID-19, the same thing. There's possibility that you can mandate students go back. That's why we try to push so hard during this summer for the kid to be vaccinated, because that 3 feet distance need to go away, by next year.
KUAM has also confirmed the issue is being discussed at the Department of Public Health. Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Sabrina Salas, Matanani.
The governor's new executive order further easing travel protocols helps pave the way for GVB's plan to market Guam as a vaccination destination for American expats living in nearby Asia. Bureau Vice President Jerry Perez says they're ready to roll out a series of packages, but they're still waiting for public health approval.
Because the last thing we want to do is roll out a program, and if public health changes the protocol in midstream, as sometimes happens based on circumstances, it would totally nullify, the package that we've put together.
The new EO also adds AstraZeneca to the list of vaccines that are acceptable to avoid quarantine for inbound travelers. It also happens to be the most common vaccine currently used for Korean citizens.
What we need to pin down now, and we're working it as we speak, is if they get AstraZeneca, when they come to Guam, they will go through a certain protocol process that would be reciprocal on return, so that when they go back to Korea, they won't have to go through an onerous, process.
The immediate prospects for Guam's other main market, Japan, are not as promising. Perez says current policy still requires a 2-week quarantine period for returning residents, which remains a big obstacle for outbound tourism. We'll be back with more news right after this break.
Half a day. As we look ahead to a brighter tomorrow, Matson's commitment to Guam and Micronesia remains stronger than ever. While the world around us is ever-changing, what remains unchanged is our commitment to you, our customers, and the island communities we serve. Shipping is what we do best, and serving our community is at the heart of everything we do. But we don't do it alone. This is why we support organizations that make caring for the people and the environment a top priority. We know that many count on Matson's lifeline services in the Pacific. And that's why we continue to work hard to ensure that our shipments remain on time all the time. Matson recently added another Aloha-class vessel to our schedule. We now have 2 of Matson's largest and fastest ships serving Guam from the U.S. West Coast and Hawaii. With our new state-of-the-art vessels, we stand ready to support the region's economic recovery. Thank you for the privilege of serving you for the last 25 years, and you can count on Matson to be here for the next 25 years and beyond.
While we've all been through a lot over the years, typhoons, earthquakes, and now COVID-19, we've been able to get through these together.
For more than 80 years, Travel's Insurance has been protecting your homes, your businesses,
and the health of your family.
We are here today and we'll be here tomorrow.
There are better days ahead. Tomorrow's a new day filled with hope and choices.
The possibilities of what we can achieve together are limitless.
Let's continue to work together to ensure a brighter tomorrow for all of us.
KUAM News, in partnership with the Guam Visitors Bureau, brings you the Guam Safe and WTTC Safe Travel Certified Program Showcase. Look out for this powerful symbol for visitors, island residents, and industry workers alike, as it represents establishments with a consistent global commitment to safety practices. Stamped with approval by the Guam Visitors Bureau and the World Travel Tourism Council. Every Monday on KUAM News will feature a different local business who's taken the Safe Guam and Safe Travels pledge to maintain health and safety standards to get Guam back on track. Log on to visitguam.com to see how your business can receive the designation, what businesses in our community are Guam Safe certified, and have the WTTC Safe Travel certified.
It's a special delivery to your inbox every week with your KUAM News Roundup, program advisories, and promotions. Sign up for the weekly KUAM Digital Digest today on KUAM.com.
Welcome back. It's been a long time coming for FSM citizens stranded abroad. They're finally headed home. FSM Consul General Teresa Philippin was at the airport today to see them off.
A lot of excitement. You know how it is. They've been waiting to get home for over a year. So really excited.
FSM Consul General Teresa Philippin was at the airport Thursday morning as the third repatriation flight left Guam heading to Pohnpei. After 7 days of pre-quarantine, a COVID vaccination, and testing, 51 stranded FSM citizens are finally going home.
The 7 more days in quarantine in Pohnpei is nothing compared to the year and a half and some that they've been, waiting abroad.
In addition to FSM citizens that were stranded here, others from other parts of the world were flown to Guam to catch the repatriation flight.
People that have been stranded abroad have been communicating to the office and the FSM National Task Force. So we have a registry that we've been keeping since the beginning of the pandemic. So whenever we have a flight ready or a planned flight, we start communicating with those people. And then that's how our list are finalized.
A total of 20 FSM citizens were flown to Guam and underwent all the required procedures. As reported, the repatriation flights were in coordination with the U.S. government and other partners, according to Philippin.
There's so many details. so many details and so many organizations and people that are involved in this whole effort. And I'm just grateful for all the assistance that the government of Guam and United Airlines have been providing. I mean, Department of Public Works with the transportation, Department of Public Health with COVID testing, and airport police, with escorting and making sure that the passengers gets to their gate with as minimal interaction with other airport traffic.
The fourth repatriation flight is scheduled for June 26th. Although currently the flights are to Pohnpei, Philippines says discussions are underway for other states.
I'm hearing Yap State is gearing up right now and they're exploring the month of July, but not, no definitive plans at this time. And that goes for the other two states as well, the Chuuk and Kosrae. Like I said, everybody is, prepping up. They're building their isolation facilities in case, an unfortunate case, is brought in, and medical and personnel and everybody, the state task force are getting up for opening repatriation flights at this time.
But for now, FSM citizens like Jessica can't wait to finally reunite with her family in Pohnpei.
Bye. Right, there you go. Okay, bye. Hi, bye.
Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Sabrina Salas, Matanani.
More words of caution about getting back to work before pandemic unemployment runs out in September. Guam Department of Labor Chief Economist Gary Hiles joins the chorus. He says PUA and EIP payments have provided a bridge for displaced and reduced hour workers to keep up with their bills, but he says they need to be ready for the eventual end to that money.
I'm very concerned when the PUA program runs out that people that don't have a job and that used to have a job and are structured to have payments like rent and so on, that could be a very serious problem.
Hiles predicts that many people will not be able to find work and will be forced to find other ways to make ends meet, such as moving in with family members or even moving off island for employment opportunities. He says that may further compound the labor problem.
But it's also, I think, going to create a very difficult situation for employers, because if employers are having a difficult time getting employees now, if after the PUA ends, if there's a significant out-migration, as there was after 9/11, then when the tourism rebounds and you all of a sudden need a lot of employees, they may not be there anymore.
And the lack of visitor industry workers, says Hiles, could eventually become an even bigger issue. The COVID mitigation plan for a first ever private adult daycare center has been approved. But while the Helping Hands Adult Daycare Center had planned to open this week, it won't be allowed to operate yet pending final guidance from public health.
Until there's in a guidance memo, adult daycare centers are specifically or explicitly in there stating exactly how an adult daycare center can be run, at what occupancy, what the restrictions are in place, then we cannot allow for adult daycare centers to be open.
Public health spokesperson Carrera says 3 other publicly operated daycare centers aren't allowed to operate for now either. However, the governor in her executive order Wednesday did approve the reopening of senior centers effective July 1st. Carrera says it's possible adult daycare centers will be approved for operation by then as well. Procurement Chair Senator Sabina Perez's informational hearing on sole source procurements gets underway Friday morning. She'll be looking at all contracts under sole source and emergency procurements for calendar year 2020. This after a slew of purchases filed with the legislature showed little to no supporting information on some 20 pages of sole source and emergency purchases. The senator also telling the Link this morning that she'll be asking about blanket purchase agreements under $10,000.
We'd like to get clarity on also just that, and as well as the rationale for choosing both emergency sole source. What is their procedures? Any inconsistencies that we're seeing?
Paris says they will also review GSA's annual report of sole source and emergency procurement for 2020, supplies and services, the amount spent, the options for a different source selection method, and the need for changes in policy, regulations, or laws. And a bill to revamp the costly mandatory medical arbitration process here goes up for its first public hearing next Wednesday. The measure would replace the current arbitration panel that patients have to go before when making medical malpractice complaints. Supporters of the measure say the upfront cost of arbitration, which can easily run from $40,000 to $60,000, has deterred people from filing complaints. The bill would instead allow complaints to be put before a magistrate's judge, who would then confidentially consider claims and expert testimony and identify frivolous claims. The arbitration process would still be allowed if both parties consent, but it doesn't make it mandatory. Senator Tello Taidagui says she's been outreach for Bill 112 and has managed to sign up 12 other senators as co-sponsors.
And explaining what medical malpractice arbitration is today and what the intention is to change it to for balance. And a lot of people had no idea, had no clue. And it usually is the case until something happens to you or something like this happens to a family member, a loved one.
Meanwhile, Taidagui also called out local doctors who she says are stifling debate on the bill by threatening to discontinue some patient procedures.
When they try to speak out, you get these individuals in the community who are, doctors and basically going after you and bullying you to the point where you can't say anything at all.
She says only 3 of her colleagues are not co-sponsoring her bill: Jim Moylan, Mary Torres, and Frank Bloss Jr. Public hearings on the bill will also be held on July 7th and the 10th. And police will be conducting DUI sobriety checkpoints beginning Friday, June 18th at 6 p.m. until Saturday, June 19th at 6 a.m. You can expect delays at the following areas where the checkpoints will be set up: Route 1, Marine Corps Drive, Dededo to Hagåtña; Route 16, Army Drive, Harmon to Barragata; Route 10, Vietnam Memorial Highway from Barragata to Chalanpago; and Route 14, Chalan-San Vitores to Mon. GPD asked drivers to proceed with caution when entering a checkpoint, as officers will be situated along the roadway. Sports is next with Dave Delgado. Stay here.
Your community calendar is brought to you by Taco Bell. Whether it's your first meal or your fourth meal, we've got you covered. Taco Bell, live Mas.
June makes the best malasadas in Hawaii, a fact not lost on Daryl, whose brother Byron is cooking the onaga he caught at his secret fishing spot with his girlfriend Malia, who used to work for the Shave Ice Guy, whose second cousin Vince drives the school bus ridden by Calais, whose auntie makes the best malasadas in Hawaii. Everything here is connected, and with the new First Hawaiian Bank mobile app, you can stay just as connected to your finances, and it all starts with yes.
We won't. We will wait. We will wait for someone to come save us.
We won't wait for the waters to be cleared. We won't just wait to breathe clean air. We won't wait to uplift our lives today and to embrace our now for better.
We dream. We dare. No holding back.
We go for it.
Because tomorrow, for us to create.
For tomorrow, we won't wait.
KUAM Sports is brought to you by Docomo Pacific. Better together.
What's up, Guam? Dave Delgado here for KUAM Sports. Thanks for watching. Tonight on the show, we catch up with Roque Martinez, who's out in Las Vegas getting ready for his fight in the UFC scheduled for this weekend. Check it out.
I think the last two fights were pretty obvious that I stepped away from, I think, just my general type of strength. You know, my cardio is always good. Like, that's never a problem. But I really wanted to address the strength on this part. So I really went back to that basic, just like heavy lifting, deadlift, squat, stuff like that. But also I still stayed on track with my cardio too. So I actually want to say that a lot of my training partners agree with me as well, is that this is probably like the best strength wise I've been, and just overall like cardio, you know? So like, it's such a perfect balance for me right now. I feel strong, but I feel like I can go multiple rounds, no problem. So I think this is going to help me against, man, these guys are big guys I'm fighting, you know what I mean? They're cutting to make 265, you know, while I come in under. So they're naturally going to be big and strong. So I had to work on getting that strength back, and, you know, that way I can compete with them in that aspect of fighting.
Roque is set to fight Josh Parisian at UFC Fight Night on June 20th at the UFC Apex. Martinez is 15-7-2, while Parisian is 13-4.
We came in a little bit earlier than last time I got here on a Sunday. So from Sunday to Monday, we kind of checked into our own hotel. We got settled, and then Monday was our first day at the UFC Performance Institute, just to get some good workouts in, and also get set up with the UFC's like the meal plans for the week, kind of set up that stuff, and we just pretty much been focusing on staying sharp and all that type of stuff. So this has been pretty busy since we got here.
For now, it's just taking care of the body. The weight is good, so Roque doesn't have to worry about cutting too much before weigh-ins. Media day is wrapped up, and now it's time to lock in.
A lot of it is a mental thing, you know. There's a lot of stuff running through my head on, you know, what I got to do different this time and stuff like that. So, you know, it's just, like you said, staying calm. And then other than that, it's pretty much just focusing on the fight itself.
On his way to the grocery store, Roque was on the same shuttle with his opponent making a food run. Roque also caught up with another familiar face and got in a workout at the UFC Performance Institute.
We ended up on the same shuttle, like sitting right next to each other, and man, he's actually a really nice guy. You know, I could tell from just, you know, I've seen his fights before and the way he carries himself. He's a very respectful guy. We ended up at the grocery store together. We bought a few items together actually, and we're gonna have dinner together tonight. But he's a cool guy, and you know, it's nothing but respect. But at the end of the day, it's just business, and we're not have to go out there and try and take each other's head off.
Well, that's going to do it for sports. We're back right after this.
You buy Docomo Pacific. Better together.
For the different beats of your life, we're here to keep you connected the way you want it. Plans made for you, by you. Build your own bundle with Link. Select the internet, entertainment, mobile, and home phone plans that fit your lifestyle. Pay for what you want, not for what you don't. Build your own bundle and save with Link.
Guam's auto appearance specialist, Elegant Reflections, has been providing the automotive industry with professional detailing and car care products at its highest quality, from complete detailing, full interior detailing, exterior detailing, headlamp restoration, hand washing, seat and carpet shampoo, engine degreasing, undercarriage cleaning, paint sealant, fabric protection, paint oxidation removal, and so much more. Visit us at our new location. Call 646-5555 for an appointment. Elegant Reflections, Guam's auto appearance specialist, over 20 years of experience.
Mobile offers a new and convenient way to fuel your vehicle. Pay gas and go. No need to line up inside the store. Press preset. Enter whole dollar amount without decimals. Press loyalty ID and enter your mobile number or insert Smiles card. Insert and remove payment card or tap contactless credit card. Begin fueling. And don't forget to grab your receipt. Pay gas and go. It's that easy.
And before we close out the news tonight, here's our latest round of birthday shout-outs from the Cold Stone Creamery Birthday Club.
We have a single birthday shout-out today